is Montessa Young, Extension Educator with UI Extension, Washington County. And in this presentation, we're going to talk about winter harvest. For winter harvest, you can enjoy fresh vegetables from your garden year-round. And this system requires three basic components: cold hardy vegetables, a succession planting or fall planting schedule, and systems to protect your crops from freezing. So let's start with step one, choosing cool season and cold hardy crops. So for a winter harvest, you're going to have to give up on your tomatoes, your peppers, and your cucumbers, but you can enjoy kale, turnips, mustard, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, carrots, parsnips, winter lettuce varieties, spinach, Swiss chard, beets, Brussels sprouts, leeks, corn salad, parsley, garlic, and chives. So one thing to keep in mind is that we are fall growing and winter harvesting. Even these cold hardy crops are not going to grow throughout the winter, but they will stay in a state of stasis. They will hold there and be preserved in the winter. So the challenge is to calculate when to plant for fall growing and winter harvesting. First thing to find out is the number of days from seed to harvest. That can be found on the back of the package for days to maturity, or in a resource like the Idaho Vegetable Garden. We want to know the average harvest period. Once this plant is mature, how long will it last to be harvested? And then just a fudge factor that we call the fall factor. Plants grow slower in cool and shorter days, so we need to allow them more time to mature. And as a starting value, about 2 weeks. And you will have to play with this depending on your growing season and your growing temperatures, but that's a good fall factor to put into place. So let's look at an example of when we would plant broccoli. So the first thing is there's many different varieties of broccoli, and some are specifically made for fall or winter harvest. You can look on the package directions or on online seed sales, and they will have fall winter varieties that are just made for this purpose. So you'll have to decide if you're going to start from seed directly into where you're going to grow them through the fall and winter, or if you're going to transplant them. It does take 3 to 4 weeks from seedling to transplant for broccoli, and the package says 63 days to harvest. So if we look out and knowing my growing conditions here in Weiser, Idaho, I know that we are still very warm throughout the month of July, and that we just start to cool down towards the end of August. And we're looking to where the temperature is no longer getting into the 90s or 100 degrees. So if I was going to start from seed, I probably could start mid-July because it'll germinate just fine in a warm soil. If I was going to go from transplant, I could start at that same time, but maybe indoor under my grow lights. And then I would plan to plant these out about the first week in August. And that gives me, my last frost date in the fall is usually early to mid-October, so that gives me close to that 63 days to have that plant mature as we go into winter. So that's an example of how you would do that calculation of when to start the seed. And there are many online resources that will allow you to put in your last frost date and then calculate the date that you need to plant the seed. So we have to decide how we're going to protect these from frost. That's the third key component. We've done a lot of presentations before this that have talked about row covers, cold frames, low tunnels, high tunnels, greenhouses, or simply mulch. So on the easiest side of winter harvest, carrots are a popular one that you can just leave in the ground and put a nice thick straw mulch on top of and be able to come dig carrots for the rest of the season. If you're doing something more complicated, maybe a winter variety of lettuce, you wouldn't want that to get covered in snow, so you definitely have to have a row cover for it. Or maybe you're wanting to really stretch this and be able to go out next February and harvest. So maybe that would involve a high tunnel some grow fabric, and maybe even some supplementary heat, as in we're seeing there with the Christmas lights. So those are the three basic components for winter harvesting. If you'd like to learn more about this concept, I highly suggest the book, The Winter Harvest Handbook, that is written by Eliot Coleman.